Support for Faith on Trial and Iowa Catholic Radio provided in part by Imogene Ingredients.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. It's time to hear from the top Christian litigators in the nation who have come forward to tell us the truth and help us defend our faith.
Hear ye, hear ye. All rise. Faith on Trial with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano, is in session.
And good Thursday morning from the Iowa Catholic Radio Studios in West Des Moines. I'm Deacon Mike Mano, and I'm here with Gina Knoll. Gina, how are you this morning?
I'm really well.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm watching the storm roll in.
Yeah, that's right.
So I just want to warn our listeners, if we go silent, it's because there's a big black ugly cloud headed this way.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad out there right now, but we'll see what happens.
It's good to be back in the studio. It was fun at the fair, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and I saw you at the fair. You and Julie Nelson were out going over all the jewelry stuff there, just like you were buying presents for yourself for Christmas that you're going to put your husband's names to.
Well, honestly, I didn't search out the jewelry stand I was looking for the areas that were well air conditioned. Mm-hmm. So I was and that shiny stuff caught my eye, and it must have caught Catholic women now.
You two were
Julie
like
Nelson's
kids in a candy
also.
shop. Yeah.
We tried every one of them on and decided which ones each other should buy. We didn't pick our own out. We picked out each other's.
Yeah, that was fun watching you guys. Of course, I see that all the time when I go someplace with Luann. You know,
your wife, yes.
Hers are shoes a lot of times.
Yes, those catch her eye. Yes, I understand. No,
yeah.
it was fun to be at the fair, and there honestly is something for everyone.
I think so.
Attendance was a little down, it looked like, but the weather was
down
fabulous.
Very much, but it was.
It was great weather. So hopefully that's a good sign for next year, and this COVID can diminish itself and not be a part of our lives any longer.
Hopefully, yeah. I didn't see too many people wearing masks. I did one day. When I was going around the industry building, the Varied Industry Building, you know that place where they have the Republicans on one side and the Democrats on the other? Oh, no,
Mike. You make everything political.
I went past the Democratic booth, and everybody in the booth, not around it, but in the booth, were wearing masks.
That's right.
Yeah, nobody in the Republican side were wearing the mask.
And when we walked by they pointed that out to us, didn't they? They said, "Look at that!" And why do we make these things political?
I thought that was funny because that was right after the president's speech on the COVID vaccination and all that. So the next day they all showed up with masks.
Well, the next big thing for us here at the station is the Carathon.
Carathon is coming up, starting the week of the 20th
of September. 20th, yes,
right? And so we will be here talking about raising money, so start saving now.
Yes, cut down on your lattes so we can count on you to help us out the week of the Carathon.
That's right. Give up one latte
Deacon Mike
a week,
and I were asked today to be the biggest show for fundraising.
That's
so
right.
we're counting on you listeners to pitch in.
Yeah, even if you're out of the area, you can always mail the stuff in or do it online.
Mail it in. That'd be good.
So we're looking forward to that, but that's in about 4 weeks?
Right. And until then, we have some really good shows. Today's is super interesting for me.
Yeah, Roger Severino. Roger is an interesting fellow. He was a guest on our program probably about 4 years ago. It's been quite a while ago. But he was a guest on our program. His expertise is in religious liberty and conscience rights and things like that. And he formerly served as the the director of the Office of Civil Rights of the Health and Human Services Department, where he was certainly involved there in monitoring things like conscience rights and religious liberties and things like that. Did a good job.
Yes, he did, and passionate about his work.
Absolutely, and he was involved in a case, and we're going to talk about that case when we get him on. That was a very it's not only an interesting case, but it was a very important case for what it represented. And as soon as he left office, the Biden administration dismissed it, and we will talk about that.
Yes, I'm interested in how something so
outrageous is
right, but the basic or foundation to our rights was just dismissed by for political reasons. it makes me nervous about the way our government is. It doesn't sound like it's our government any longer.
Yeah.
So that case,
look at the southern border and look at Afghanistan.
I know there's a lot of it points to it, but there's usually good people, and Mr. Severino is one of those, and they continue.
And our troops we got to take our hat off to the troops in Afghanistan that are working their tails off to get people out of there with their hands tied behind their back. Really,
not just a salute. How about a prayer?
Yeah, well, let's open with
and
the prayer.
I always open with a prayer for peace, and today it really means
right.
it. Yep. So let me begin. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. God of peace, bring your peace to our violent world, peace in the hearts of all men and women, and peace among the nations of this earth. Turn to your way of love those whose hearts and minds are consumed with hatred. Strengthen us in hope and give us the wisdom and courage to work tirelessly for a world where true peace and love reign among nations and in the hearts of all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Gina. And we will be right back in 2 minutes with Roger Severino. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by CTO. Your support has helped thousands of students attend our Catholic schools. CTOIowa.org. At CTO, the bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Thank you, Big Red Q Quick Print, for underwriting the sports report. Family owned and operated since 1980, Big Red Q Quick Print is a full-service print shop ready to help you with all your printing needs with speed and accuracy. Forms, manuals, brochures, letterhead, envelopes, business cards, custom invitations, design, and bindery. Big Red Q Quick Print, located across from Merle Hay Mall. Online at bigredq-desmoines.com. Big Red Q Quick Print. We make printing easy.
Thank you, Caldwell Parish, for underwriting Iowa Catholic Radio. Conform to the wishes of the deceased and to Catholic liturgical burial traditions. Caldwell Parish Funeral Home, Des Moines' only Catholic-owned and operated funeral home. CaldwellParish.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Catholic Women Now provided in part by Permar Security, providing security solutions for homes and businesses since 1953. Permar Security is a Catholic-owned family business supplying security systems, access control systems, video surveillance, fire alarm systems, and video doorbells. All alarm systems are monitored out of their monitoring center located in the state of Iowa. Permar Security, 515-244-5660, permarsecurity.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Faith on Trial provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production. And we're back. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. And we have with us right now Roger Severino, who is a senior fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Roger, how are you this morning?
Doing great.
Good. Before we begin, why don't you explain to our listeners what the Ethics and Public Policy Center is?
Certainly. We are a think tank in Washington, D.C., with several amazing scholars that take the concepts of biblical Christianity and Judaism and apply them to the modern problems of the world today. So we have the faith angle, which is often excluded from the public policy debates. And especially we have many amazing Catholic scholars like Ryan Anderson and George Weigel that bring the tradition of the faith to apply to the problems of the day. So that's what we do, and I've been brought on after serving in the Trump administration at HHS, where I launched an HHS accountability project at EPPC to make sure that the issues that deal most directly with life, and that's at the Health and Human Services Department, really get the full treatment of respect for human dignity from conception until natural death. So that's what we're about. We're unfortunately playing defense instead of offense now with the Biden administration. We're making sure to get as much exposure to these issues as possible from a faith lens and a good moral standing.
Well, God bless you for what you're doing. You're certainly doing God's work out there, and we keep you in our prayers that you are successful in what you do. What we want to talk about today, though, is a case that you started when you were the director of the Office of Civil Rights at HHS under the Trump administration, involving some nurses, or at least it started with one nurse that was required to assist in an abortion against her will.
That's right. It was the University of Vermont Medical Center, which is a private institution that had gotten into the abortion business. Now, after Roe v. Wade, much of abortion was offloaded to abortion clinics. But what we've seen is that the economics aren't working so well, so they're trying to reintegrate with hospitals, much to the detriment of the culture of life that hospitals should be supporting. In this instance, a nurse was very clear that she could not participate in abortion according to her religious and moral beliefs. Things were fine after a while until one weekend they called her in to ostensibly assist with the after effects of a miscarriage. But that was a lie. She walks in and the doctor, which was an abortionist, said, "Don't hate me," because they knew that she had objected to assisting abortions, and this was in fact not a miscarriage, but an actual abortion of a child. She was faced with a horrible, horrible pressure of whether or not she would go through with it, because if she would not, she could lose her job, be accused of abandoning the patient, and possibly lose her license to practice medicine. Under that coercion, she gave in and was scarred ever since. That was a violation of federal law, because you cannot receive federal funds from HHS and coerce doctors and nurses to assist in abortions. This is clear, bipartisan consensus, and my office, when I was at HHS, enforced that law. We found a violation. This was an open and shut case, as clear as day, and we actually pursued it through a lawsuit filed by the Department of Justice.
Now, let me interrupt you there.
We lost the election.
Yeah,
we lost the election, and the Biden administration has now switched positions.
Let me insert something here. It was my understanding that in your investigation you found that she was one of 10 nurses who were so pressured to perform the abortion.
She was one who was actually required to perform one.
Okay.
There are other nurses and professionals who would object, that would be subject to this sort of coercion.
Okay.
And the hospital would not budge because they cared more about abortion extremism than following the law, and would not change their policies to come into compliance. So we found them in violation, led by career officials at HHS. I had launched the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division, the first in the federal government.
I saw
and they're
that.
still there.
In 2018, that division was created simply to protect medical professionals. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it was to enforce the law. We have to institutionalize the civil rights protections. They are anti-discrimination laws that apply to protect conscience. They need to be enforced. So that division did the investigation, and those professionals are still there. Unfortunately, just a few weeks ago, the Biden administration and HHS, led by Javier Becerra, who was an abortion extremist, he undid the results of that investigation, overruled all of the findings, and let the hospital off the hook completely.
What would have
the lawsuit?
I'm curious as to the consequences to the hospital under the investigation. If they had been found responsible for violation of the law, what were they subjected to, or what would they have been subjected to?
Yes. Well, they were found responsible, and they were subject to losing federal funds. And absent a direct loss of federal funds, what we did was we sued them in federal court so that a court would order them to comply, and then they would be subject to sanctions otherwise. So those are the conditions. You receive federal funds, you have to play by the federal rules, which include conscience protections, which Javier Becerra is now flouting and ignoring, despite his many promises that he would actually respect conscience. Those have been exposed as lies.
Well, he did make a pledge to uphold the law, did he not? No,
that's what he would have taken his oath of office to. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there is the oath of office,
yeah.
But he was asked very specifically during his confirmation hearings and multiple times afterwards. There are all these cases out there. There's a conscience division there to enforce it. Are you going to enforce law? And he promised he would, that he absolutely would. And that is as close to a direct lie as you could be when you have findings by career professionals saying here is a violation, a suit authorized and filed by DOJ, again, career people, and then for him to overrule it, all of that, that means he does not respect the law. Again, this does not get any clearer violation. She informed her bosses, I don't do abortions, sorry. They tricked her into doing it anyway on pain of losing her job. that's the clear violation law. It doesn't get any clearer. Yet Javier Becerra is retreating, and there's only one explanation as to why. He cares more about abortion politics and extremism. Had this been anything else, maybe it would have been different.
Now, it seems to me that you also, did something against California. You enforced a Weldon Amendment against California that led to a $200 million funding disallowance to the state.
That's right. That's right. And again, it's a similar set of facts. If you receive federal funds, you have to respect conscience laws. In this instance, it was California requiring effectively universal abortion coverage in insurance. Many people in California don't know that they may be paying for their daughter's abortions under their health plans. And that's wrong. There has to be the ability to opt out. And federal law provides that you cannot discriminate against health plans and health institutions that don't want to pay for abortion. Again, it's one thing that the left has already said there's a constitutional right to abortion. There's another, much graver step to say, and everybody else must pay for it or assist in it and perform it. That's quite totalitarian. But unfortunately, Javier Becerra is quite totalitarian. He's gone after pro-life pregnancy resource centers to force them to refer for abortions, and he defended the California position of forcing abortion insurance, and my office found him in violation of the Weldon Amendment, and it cost his state $200 million in Medicaid funds, which he reversed once he got back in, which would be a tremendous conflict of interest if he was involved directly in this decision, because he was the Attorney General at the time. But HHS has reversed the position, again, giving California a full pardon.
Let's take a look forward here. How many more types of cases like this had been percolating and are now not going to be pursued?
Exactly. That division must have had a multitude of cases that it was looking into. Because I'll tell you, I Googled conscience rights in hospitals, and there are cases, they go back for years of medical professionals.
How many
who
of them have we had on the air?
Well, exactly.
We've had a number of them on the air. So what does this look like, Roger? As we look forward,
right.
What is the status of these cases, and what is the status of the conscience rights of these nurses and medical technicians that are being forced to assist in an abortion?
They are imperiled, unfortunately. As long as we have Becerra and Biden in office, then they're under severe threat. Now, I encourage anybody who still has these issues, because they are not going away, to file complaints with the Office for Civil Rights at HHS. They have to be filed. You can't just give up. Someday the winds will change. And the real question is he actually going to shut down the Conscience Division entirely or not? That's the true test. So far, he's been non-committal and has said yes, maybe, yes, no. He's surrounded by people who want to shut it down because they are so hostile to conscience rights. But that's an institution that has to stay, and that's where the fight has to be.
Okay, but politically, I'd say he'd wait.
Complaints need to be filed.
Yeah, I'm glad you've given that advice, but because even without that division, those complaints are still on file.
Correct, and they could be picked up later.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But they have to be filed because the violations are still happening. And here's one thing that happened. Under Obama, there was something like 8 to 10 complaints filed on the conscience under conscience rights, and then they exploded once the Trump folks and I came into office because we advertised that these laws are actually available. And yes, the violations were happening, but people didn't know where to turn. So hhs.gov/OCR, file complaints there because they need to hear your voice. And you don't need to be an expert in the law. You don't need to have a lawyer. But if you think your conscience rights have been violated with respect to an HHS-funded program, i.e. healthcare or human services, file the complaints.
So what happens for Nurse Rachel at this point?
Well, it's tough. It's very tough because the nurse had nowhere else to turn other than the HHS Office for Civil Rights, and it was a complete abandonment and betrayal. You can't just treat people like objects or playthings. Her claims are so crystal clear, and we're moving forward. We had the full weight of the federal government, and then she was absolutely abandoned. So it's sad to say that as of right now, there isn't very much recourse other than bringing more light to the grave injustice, right? She has to carry this with her for the rest of her life, having been coerced into that position, and the perpetrators are getting away with it. They are flat out getting away with it, and that is just shameful.
Wow.
I take it then since the suit that you had initiated has been dismissed now, that there's no way that she can follow up with a civil suit on her own?
Yeah, it's tough because under the statutes, some courts have said there is no right for somebody to file on their own. That they have to go to the government to enforce it. And that's why we need the Conscience Division to enforce it. Right. Who else is left, right? And that's what what is the point of these laws if not to enforce them? And especially when they were passed unanimously and bipartisan to tamp down on the culture wars, to create some space for people who stand up for life. And if there's no space for people to stand up for life, it's going to create further tensions, further coercions, and things will get worse before they get better.
That's right. And one way to repeal a law is simply just ignore it and not enforce it. And that we see a lot of that going on.
Well, your work there was wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you for your service to our country.
Roger, how does somebody want to follow, or somebody go to if they want to follow you and what the Ethics and Public Policy Center are doing? Is there a web page that they can look up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the best way is probably through Twitter to follow my updates.
Okay.
And my handle is Roger Severino _. So just look me up on Twitter. And also the EPPC handle is EPPC DC.
Okay.
For where we're based. So that's the best way to keep in touch with us.
Okay.
Follow everything we do. And again, we're a full spectrum. From anything having to do with human good and flourishing, we cover from theology to politics and policy.
Very good.
My focus is on healthcare for the moment.
Very good. And we will be following you, and we will call upon you again. Roger Severino, thank you very much for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it. Good luck, and God bless you with your future work.
Thank you. Take care.
Certainly. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and we will be right back after these messages.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and John Leonetti in the Morning provided by Bell Construction.
Bell Construction is a roofing company. They specialize in residential re-roofs, like commercial jobs, and have the experience to meet all of your roofing needs with personal service. With Bell Construction, the owner will come to your home or place of business in person to inspect and ensure the quality of work that you deserve. They pride themselves in working with you on a personal basis and making sure you are satisfied. Bell Construction, 515-963-4494. Bell Construction.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Divine Treasures, a Catholic book and gift store serving the Des Moines community since 1992. Divine Treasures, 5701 Hickman Road, Des Moines, 515-255-5230. Thank you, Divine Treasures, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and the Uncommon Good provided by Mercy College of Health Sciences, where you can chart your course for more.
This is Bo Bonner.
And I'm Dr. Bud Marr from the Uncommon Good.
Mercy College provides unparalleled clinical rotations, hands-on learning, accelerated education, and flexible schedules. Since 1899, Mercy College has been transforming students into healthcare professionals. Guided by Catholic values, our faculty put classroom theory into practice. Students are prepared for roles in service and leadership throughout their own careers.
Learn more at mchs.edu.
Thank you, Big Red Q Quick Print, for underwriting the sports report. Family owned and operated since 1980. Big Red Q Quick Print is a full-service print shop ready to help you with all your printing needs with speed and accuracy. Forms, manuals, brochures, letterhead, envelopes, business cards, custom invitations, design, and bindery. Big Red Q Quick Print, located across from Merle Hay Mall. Online at bigredq-desmoines.com. Big Red Q Quick Print. We make printing easy.
And you're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and we are back now from our visit with Roger Severino. We got a little bit of numbers for you here.
Yeah, so it's Nurse Rachel is definitely a face of this problem, and I'm seeing it in the news, which is great. But I told you that I Googled this to find out how prevalent is this particular situation for our medical professionals, and it's very prevalent. And in fact, it was really good that the last administration opened that division, because under the Obama administration, there were 10 complaints to the...
that was 8 years.
Right. 8 years, 10 complaints to the Office of Civil Rights. So when the Trump administration came in, they literally created this division, and within 14 months, they had 496 complaints. Yep. And this is from a story in 2018, so who knows what they're up to at this point. And if they close that division, all of those medical professionals will be in the same situation as Nurse Rachel.
Well, and we've seen this before, and we've had a number of cases like this that we've discussed on the radio, where nurses are being told, you have to assist in this abortion, otherwise...
Or issuing contraceptives against their religious beliefs.
And you'll be accused of abandoning a patient.
And lose your license.
And you lose your license. So this is a life thing for them. You know, this is what they've dedicated themselves to do, but not to do abortions. And in this particular case, in Rachel's case, she was already on. They had a conscience list that she was already on. So the hospital was well aware of the fact that she would not do this, and they pressured her into it anyway. And
I'm glad we covered the story, and we'll keep our eye on that division and how the Biden administration and Secretary Becerra take care of our people who have conscience rights.
Yeah. Not very well, apparently.
Well,
because
we'll see.
That was a case.
If they close that division, it'll be a big deal.
That's right. That's right. All right. In other news here, federal court upholds a Texas law banning dismemberment abortions. In a major victory for Texas pro-life movement, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit reversed a lower court decision that upheld the Texas pro-life law that prohibits dismemberment abortions. Whole Women's Health, a pro-abortion foundation whose stated goal is to provide fabulous health care fabulous health care for abortion, a pro-life foundation, initially won its appeal last year that blocked the enforcement of the Texas anti-dismemberment law, but last week a federal court reversed that decision, handing the victory to the pro-life cause.
Again, a lot of double negatives.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is...
it's very small print here for me, too.
I know, so it's good for the pro-life causes. So that's what we need to know, that the federal courts are really standing up for it.
That's right. And in Virginia, the ADF and two churches have filed a suit to challenge the Virginia Values Act that forces nonprofit ministries to abandon their core convictions in hiring and other policies or face fines up to $100,000.
I remember we covered that law.
We covered that when it was passed.
That
was passed last July or something like that in 2020. Yeah, so we'll see how that comes out. All right, we're pretty much out of time now. Let's finish with our prayer to St. Michael. St. Michael, the archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. For Gene and myself, thank you for listening, and join us again next week when we'll have another edition of Faith on Trial.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. Faith on Trial, with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano. Faith on Trial, Thursdays at 10 a.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio, iowacatholicradio.com, and the Iowa Catholic Radio app.
Support for Faith on Trial and Iowa Catholic Radio provided in part by Imogene Ingredients.